Welcome to the deep dive. Wow, what a week for AI, huh? Felt like non-stop news, especially from Google and OpenAI. Things are moving fast.
They really are. It's almost hard to keep up sometimes. Every day feels like a new breakthrough.
Totally, and that's why we're here. We've sifted through a bunch of updates, mainly drawing from a pretty detailed AI news discussion to figure out what's really going on.
Right. The goal is to cut through the noise, pull out the key stuff, and make sense of it all without, melting your brain.
Exactly. No brain melting allowed. Okay, so let's dive in. First up, Google's new heavyweight, Gemini 2.5 Pro.
Yeah, and this one's, it's making quite a splash. The sources we looked at really emphasized its performance on the AI Arena leaderboard.
Oh, yeah. What stood out?
Get this. It apparently achieved the biggest score difference ever recorded on that benchmark. That's not just a small step up.
Whoa, okay, so not just winning, but winning by a landslide. What areas did it dominate in?
Pretty much across the board, according to the source. Math, creative writing, following instructions. It seems very capable.
And there was that human evil benchmark number 2, right? The programming test.
And 18.8% jump.
Yeah.
Which, for human evil, that's significant. People debate that benchmark, but an increase like that, it definitely points to better coding and reasoning skills.
So what does that mean in practice? Better at understanding code problems?
Yeah, likely better logical reasoning, understanding algorithms, turning plain English into working code, and connecting that back, the source compared it directly to OpenAI's stuff.
Right. How did it stack up against GPT 4.5 or even O1 Pro?
Well, it seems to be GPT 4.5 and Ultra Mini, and it's getting close to O1 Pro's performance, which is way more expensive.
And Gemini 2.5 Pro is cheaper, or even free for testing right now.
Exactly, free for testing, which is pretty wild given these performance claims. Plus, they're still testing its software engineering chops. The feeling is it might even beat O1 Pro there.
Okay, that's impressive. The source also mentioned something about its reasoning before answering, and the context window.
Yeah, apparently it shows its logical steps more clearly, which is useful. And the context window, 1 million tokens. That's massive.
1 million tokens. What does that actually let it do?
Think of it like supercharged short-term memory. It can handle incredibly long documents, complex code, really long conversations without losing the plot.
Makes sense.
And the source had this great example, that programming challenge.
Oh, the Claude simulation, right? Tell me about that. What was the task?
Okay, so they asked both Gemini 2.5 Pro and O1 Pro to write a complex Claude simulation using p5.js, all in one HTML file, no external stuff, needs coding and physics understanding.
Tricky. How did O1 Pro do?
Apparently, not great. Took a really long time, only gave a short, incomplete example, and they just refused to give the full code. Said it couldn't handle the performance.
Yikes. Not exactly confidence-inspiring. And Gemini.
Night and day, according to the source. Delivered a working simulation quickly, and it ran well. Really showed the difference in handling a complex, multi-step problem.
Wow. Okay, definite point for Google there. All right, let's pivot to OpenAI image generation news.
Big news, yeah. They've integrated image generation directly into GPT-4o and ChatGPT. It basically replaces DALL-E 3.
About time. The source was pretty blunt about DALL-E 3. It called it miserable and backward. So what's better now?
Two main things highlighted. One, just better image quality overall. Probably because the model understands context better now, text and image together.
Okay, makes sense. And the second thing?
This is the big one. Readable text and images, finally. It's been such a struggle getting AI to write actual words that make sense in a design.
Oh, thank goodness. Yes. That was always so hit or miss, mostly miss.
Totally. And the other cool feature is natural language editing. You can just tell it, change the background to blue or add a hat to the cat, and it does it. And it keeps things consistent, even with like 20 different objects in the image.
Whoa, that level of control just by talking to it?
Yeah, really intuitive. This source suggested this could be a whole new era for visual creation, maybe even changing what creative skills mean. Raises that question though.
Yeah.
Does this make creativity easier, or does it, narrow the space for truly original human ideas?
Good question. The age-old tool versus replacement debate. Definitely something we'll be watching. Okay, let's shift focus again. Deepseek, the Chinese company.
Right. They quietly updated their massive V2 model, 670 billion parameters. But the clever part is their architecture.
The mixture of experts thing.
Exactly. Mo.
Yeah.
So even though it's huge, only about 37 billion parameters are active at any one time. Like having specialists, only the relevant ones work on a task. Super efficient.
And that's why it can run on a Mac Studio, a personal computer.
Precisely. which is like a huge deal. It used to be only giant corporations could run models this big. DeepSeek's kind of democratizing access.
That is a big deal. More people experimenting, potentially faster innovation. Any specific improvements noted?
Yeah, the source mentioned better math and programming skills.
Right.
It ranked 8th in programming globally in one list, better than Ultra Mini Medium.
Not bad. And people can try it out.
Yep, free testing via DeepSeek Chat. They're also working on a project called DeepSight, using it for games and web apps.
Interesting. And there's another model coming, Deepseek V2.
Rumor has it, yeah. Possibly just weeks away, and supposedly might even outperform O1 Pro. The competition is definitely heating up.
For sure. Okay, switching from software to hardware. Robots, Aptronics Apollo.
Yes, they've partnered with Jabil, a big manufacturer, to mass produce Apollo. And they're already testing them in factories.
Doing what?
Get this, building other Apollo robots.
Huh. Robots building robots, the classic sci-fi trope.
Right.
So the goal is helping human workers,
But, yeah, source points out the underlying aim is likely replacing human labor with cheaper automation eventually. Big societal questions there.
Definitely. How's its movement? Smooth. Agile.
The source noted it's maybe less flexible than some other robots we've seen. Probably a trade-off for mass production and industrial robustness,
Makes sense. Different robots for different jobs. Okay, now something collaborative. OpenAI adopting an Anthropic protocol.
Yeah, this is cool. OpenAI is using Anthropic's open source model context protocol. It's basically a standard, secure way for AIs to talk to external data and programs.
Like a universal translator for AI and software.
Good analogy. And Zapier's adopted it too, which instantly connects it to like 8,000 other apps.
Whoa. So ChatGPT could, post to Facebook for you? Or Claude manage your Google Calendar?
Exactly. Without you having to manually tell it every single step. More autonomy, more seamless integration, and it's open source, which is great.
That sounds incredibly powerful. Okay, now for something controversial. Microsoft's quantum chip, Majorana 1.
Yes. That definitely stirred the pot. Microsoft announced this chip using what they call topological qubits based on Majorana particles. Theoretically, these are super stable and resistant to errors, the big headache in quantum computing.
The Holy Grail, right. Error-resistant qubits. Satya Nadella called it historic.
He did, but the physics community, not so much. Widespread skepticism.
Why? What's the issue?
The main criticism, according to the source, is just a lack of solid proof in their paper. It doesn't conclusively show these topological qubits exist and are stable. Plus, concerns their testing might give false positives.
And haven't we heard this before from Microsoft?
Yep. They made a similar claim in 2021, then had to retract it. So that history doesn't help build confidence. Even Amazon apparently called it hype.
Ouch. A competitor calling it hype, does that mean anything? Strategy, maybe?
Could be partly competitive, sure. But the level of doubt from actual physicists is significant. The worry is that overblown claims could mislead investors and hurt the whole quantum field's credibility long term.
Yeah, needs solid science, especially with something this complex.
Okay, from quantum weirdness to something more mechanical. The 3D printed walker from UC San Diego.
This thing is neat. It's a 6-legged robot, 3D printed, and it starts walking right away. No wires, no batteries. Wait, no power source. How does it move?
Pneumatics, just pulses of compressed air drive the legs. Super simple, super cheap, like $20 to make, and it walks on different surfaces, even underwater.
Wow. Potential for hazardous environments then. Disaster response.
Exactly, or industrial maintenance, scientific exploration. Still needs better steering and an onboard power source eventually, but it's a really clever, low-cost design. Even hobbyists could use it.
Cool. Okay, back to images. Ideogram 3.0 versus Forgo.
Yeah, image generation keeps moving. Ideogram 3.0 is getting praise for realism and, again, that text rendering accuracy. Users apparently rated it higher than Imagine 3, Flax, Luma for text.
Text is clearly the battleground right now. And Forgo.
That's another new one gaining traction. The source compared them head to head. Forgo seemed maybe slightly better overall, except for photorealism. Ideogram 3.0 apparently nails realistic photos, especially stylish professional ones. Think LinkedIn profile pics. So, different strengths.
Good to know, not just one winner. What about Baidu? They have one too.
Yep, Infinite U. It's open source, up on Hugging Face. Its specialty seems to be personalized images, keeping someone's face consistent across different prompts while following the text instructions accurately.
So great for making different versions of yourself or someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Modifying photos but keeping the likeness. And being open source is a plus for the community. Okay, slight detour, figure 01, the robot learning to walk.
Right. How fast did it learn?
Hours. using reinforcement learning in simulations. It basically crammed years of human toddler practice into a few hours of intense virtual training. Incredible acceleration. But the source had a funny description of the walk.
Oh yeah, like humans with hemorrhoids.
Yeah. So it walks, but maybe not gracefully yet. Shows the gap between simulation and smooth real-world movement still exists.
Still, ours is impressive. Okay, OpenAI against Studio Ghibli style.
Yeah, that became a huge trend, transforming photos into that Ghibli cartoon look. Though the source says some people are already tired of seeing it everywhere.
Trend fatigue happens fast online, but OpenAI also added direct image editing, right?
Correct. In ChatGPT now, you can just type commands to add, change, remove stuff in the image. The source suggests it's better than Gemini for this kind of in-image tweaking.
Very handy for quick edits. Okay, now something deeper. Humans getting attached to AI. The Open AMIT study.
Yeah, they analyzed millions of conversations and ran experiments. Found that while most people don't use ChatGPT emotionally, a small group does.
Which group?
Particularly people who use the advanced voice mode a lot. They seem more likely to develop stronger emotional bonds. But it varies hugely by person and how they use it.
Makes sense. Voice feels more personal, but there was a downside mentioned.
A crucial one. Some users reported feeling more lonely and isolated when using AI for emotional support. It's a really important flag. AI might not be a substitute for human connection and could even make things worse for some.
Sobering thought. We need to be careful there. All right, Anthropic, back to them. A tool for Claude.
A tool-use thinking tool. It helps Claude pause and think more systematically when it has to use multiple external tools or follow complex rules.
So it stops mid-task to figure things out.
Kind of. It happens during response generation, helping it process new info from a tool, unlike extended thinking, which is all done up front. And it helps accuracy improve significantly, up to 54% on some benchmarks, especially for complex, multi-step tasks.
That's a big jump in reliability for complicated stuff. Okay, now for something really sci-fi. Korean liquid micro-robots.
Seriously cool. Rice grain-sized robots made of water droplets and Teflon particles, inspired by cells.
Liquid robots, how do they work?
Controlled by sound waves, acoustics make them change shape, move, even merge together.
Wow, what are the potential uses?
Huge potential in medicine. Targeted cancer therapy, drug delivery, also maybe tiny maintenance, disaster response in tight spots, environmental cleanup.
Incredible range, but still early days.
Very early research. Big questions remain about controlling them safely, especially inside the body. But getting published in Nature means it's scientifically significant. Definitely watch this space.
Will do. Okay, a surprising business move. Perplexity AI trying to buy TikTok US.
Came out of left field, right? Perplexity, the AI search company, wants TikTok US. Their big promise. Rebuild the recommendation algorithm and make it open source. Total transparency.
Open sourcing the TikTok algorithm, that would be revolutionary.
Absolutely. Plus, they want to integrate Perplexity's verification and citation tech into TikTok videos. Trying to fight misinformation, presumably.
An AI search engine trying to clean up TikTok's info chaos. Bold plan. Is it likely?
Source says skepticism is high. But even if the bid fails, it pushes the conversation about transparency and verification on social media platforms, which is valuable in itself.
True. Good point. Okay, almost there. Tencent's new model, Honey1 T1.
Yeah, another big Chinese player. Honey1 T1 uses a hybrid architecture, mixes transformer and Mamba network types.
Yay.
The promise is double speed, higher efficiency.
Hybrid. Is that the future? Mixing architectures? How does it stack up?
Competes strongly with DeepSeek R1 and OpenAI models on performance and cost, especially math and language. And it's free to test right now.
Free again. Lots of free access lately.
Yep. The source sees it as more proof. China's closing the AI gap fast. Raises questions about whether these hybrid models will take over.
Interesting times. Okay, shifting to a really impactful AI use. Cancer detection. ECGMLP.
This is amazing. An AI model that hit 92.6% accuracy detecting endometrial cancer from tissue images. That's way better than the typical 78-81% for human doctors.
That's a massive improvement. How does it do it?
Specialized attention mechanisms. It can spot subtle patterns humans might miss. And it works well on other cancers too, like colon and breast. Huge potential for earlier detection, saving lives.
Incredible, but the source raised the access question right.
Crucial point. How do we make sure this tech reaches everyone, especially in poorer countries with less access to specialists? A breakthrough isn't truly a breakthrough if it's not accessible.
So true. Technology for all. Finally, a student project in Arabic education.
Yeah, two students, Ahmed Allah and Mohammed Rabi, are building an AI tool for Arabic learning and prepping for the Thanawiyya Amma exam.
What does it do?
Starting with a website where teachers can click a button to generate exam-style questions. They're collecting data now to train the AI.
Fantastic use of AI for education. Simple, practical, helpful.
Exactly. They're looking for collaborators, too. It just shows how AI is spreading into all sorts of fields, making a real difference.
Well, that brings us to the end. What a whirlwind. Gemini's power, OpenAI's image skills, DeepSeek's efficiency, robots walking and building, quantum debates, tiny liquid bots.
It's a lot. We saw huge leaps in model capabilities, new hardware directions, real progress in robotics, and even depth questions about our emotional connection to AI.
The pace is just relentless, and the potential impacts on creativity, industry, jobs, health, even our social lives are immense.
Absolutely. It really makes you step back and think, what's driving all this? Where is it all heading? How do we balance this incredible progress with human values and well-being?
That's the big question, isn't it? Plenty to mull over. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.